So, the Spirit Baby playground, during my first visit, we actually didn't start with the creation of the playground. We actually started with some kind of housekeeping and rules and really, really important things to know. One of the things to know is that the Spirit Baby playground chose for its home the fairy realm. So, many of you may not have ever even visited the fairy realm. You may not be aware of it. You also might sit on the side of those that not only have visited the fairy realm, but you've had multiple past lives, like myself, in the fairy realm. But it chose for its home the fairy realm for a couple of different reasons. The first is that it is one of the safest realms for spirit babies. Fairies are tricky in a sense and show that trickery to humans, and I would even say beyond humans. They are incredibly compassionate, they're incredibly loving, incredibly loyal, incredibly concerned with safety, and are incredibly protective of spirit babies. I say incredibly each time because it is at an incredible level. They consider spirit babies to be their own. They are really mindful of their presence when it comes to spirit babies. Fairies view spirit babies, I would say, in a very, very high light and high frequency and high vibration. There is a lot of positivity and favor that sometimes even goes beyond their favor and positivity with their own. Spirit babies breathe life into things and create growth beyond what life would initially allow. And I say from the perspective of what life would initially allow, if you have a small river and there's a spirit baby there, it will grow into an ocean. If you have an ocean, it will grow literally into a planet. If you have a lake, it'll grow into a city or a country. Spirit babies breathe life beyond what these initial planets or the initial state of the realm would initially allow. They quantum leap everything. And they breathe life into things wherever they go just through presence alone. They don't even have to actively take action or do anything in order to breathe life into something. It comes from them just being there. And I can say, as someone who is a grid worker, I'm not a remote grid worker, and a grid worker is someone that shifts the energy and frequency of, and this is a quick definition, shifts the energy and frequency of places and spaces just by being there, just through their presence alone. I am one of those grid workers that have to physically be in a place. There are people that can do grid work through crystals. They can do it remotely through other means. I am one of those that have to physically be in the place. And in being there, the frequency shifts just through my presence alone, even if I don't do any energetic work there or the ceremony there, because I am in itself the energy shift. So that's how spirit babies are. They are in and of themselves the energetic shift that planets and families and life in itself end up growing beyond because of their presence. So those are the first couple of reasons. And I will also add, though, that fairies have the ability to protect spirit babies from other realms. This was really huge and a really big part of creating the system of safety. Things can happen in the fairy realm, so there are protections in place for the playground for spirit babies within the fairy realm, but it's one of those realms that's not as easily accessible as the upper realm or the underworld, and it's not as easily accessible to malevolent beings like entities, vampires, and even, I would say, some demons. I have, which they're called either demons or goetic infernals, I have guides that are demons and they're divine, and you also have demons that are malevolent. There is no like light and dark, and that's the end of the story. There are very much divine parts on each side. So they're both divine parts and wounded parts on each side. So between fairies and witches and demons and angels, many beings want to provide support for spirit babies. Fairies were the most appropriate in this case for the playground and the safest. Fairies can access other realms with ease, with the exception of a realm that houses entities. And so that's not a realm that I will get into right now. I will save that for another day. But other beings, like I said, cannot access the fairy realm with as much ease as fairies can access other realms. And though fairies can access other realms with ease, it does not mean that they are always welcome. They also may have to adjust the frequency of their energy, either making it lower, which is often the case, in order to maintain their space or place in that specific realm. So, for instance, if they leave their dimension here on Earth and they step into the part of the dimension that is more human, their frequency will be lowered, and they have to. Honestly, it supports them in lowering it, but it also ensures that they're not triggering humans left and right beyond what the human is here to do along their own soul path or beyond what they can humanly take. That's something that I'll speak more about in the future around like frequency and the importance of balancing frequency amongst different spaces and places and realms. I will also add though that just because they can access these realms with ease and just because they can shift and adjust their frequency does not mean they can actually stay in that realm for very long. It does affect them, and so it's just things to remember when it comes to fairies and them traveling between realms. So when we go back to spirit babies, so a spirit baby, historically, they've been born from many different types of realms. It's not just one realm that a spirit baby is born from. You have the underworld, and even within the underworld, you have multiple places within the underworld. A place that I frequent very often is like the Palace of Demons, and that's because my main spirit guide is Hades. I also have other, well, Hades has his own palace. I said Palace of Demons and then I went to Hades. So I frequent the underworld because my main spirit guide is Hades. The Palace of Demons is where my Goetic Infernal guides are, and it's not just one type, but that's where some of my other guides, they have their own palaces there. And so a spirit baby historically would decide to be born from a specific realm because it would support them more. And there was no place they could be born from that was held with the highest frequency and where they also would not be pulled into like karmic webs and galactic mechanisms of control. So from their space in the playground, they can actually create this connection point in their own realms. Each spirit baby on the playground has their own realm, and they can create this connection space in place, which allows them to be born with more ease into whatever planet that they're going to. So that, let's say for instance, there's a spirit baby that has higher soul fractals from the upper realm, but they are a Goetic Infernal, they're a demon. And they desire to be born through the upper realm, but housed in a palace that's similar to demons. They create this. The playground and I work to create these foundational pieces for the realms, and the guides are really supporting and helping them in building their own space and place as well. But they create this within their realms, and when they're coming through, they can be birthed straight through their realm instead of having to go outside the space of safety they can be birthed straight through their realm, and they can have that system of feeling very supported in who they are. So part of spirit babies coming to the playground, and I won't dive too deeply into this, but a lot of them come to the playground and they have come having fully rejected a part of themselves, whether it's the element, whether it's their nature, whether it's their soul fractals. They've come rejecting a part of themselves because of the life that they've lived, because of being on the run. When we bring them into the playground, a key part of moving them into their realms is helping them to accept these parts of themselves with ease and a little bit at a time. We do not rush them, we do not force anything on them, but we do take a very strong stance of like, you're welcome here exactly as you are, and these are parts of you. So when it comes to these parts of them, they may decide that they want to be birthed on earth, but from the palace of demons rather than the fairy realm. And so we support them in incorporating that part into their realms. This may be because there's something in their shadow that needs to be resolved or is resolved due to them being birthed through that realm within the playground, or it can mean that they want to retain more memories of what they are here to do within this incarnation by being birthed through that realm from the playground. And it does matter. The location of where you're birthed from does matter and does play a role in what you're able to retain. If you come in through a malevolent contract or through a karmic web, what's written into a lot of these karmic webs and malevolent contracts is that you actually forget your role or your mission in coming here, and you forget the parts of you that are actually in power. This isn't about being born into your next incarnation with full memories of your past life. I am not of the sense that that would serve. And I know that there's a lot of like books out there and shows out there showing people being born with memories of their past life. I won't get into that right now, but just to say this, being born on earth through the realms from the playground that you feel the most empowered by allow you to retain those parts of yourself and support you fully in grounding here when you arrive, but also in feeling very safe in arriving. Once again, we go back to safety is important. Safety is key. Now, I will bring this up because I am a mother to be of 3 spirit babies. And yes, I am the mother of spirit babies, but I also have 3 souls that have contracts with me in this life. And I, at one point, had a desire to remove as many karmic webs and as many like malevolent contracts and things that I could. And one of the things that my guides were very clear from early on is that you can remove things that are external to them that are imposing a threat, but you cannot remove things that are part of their pathway that are internal to them. It does not support them, and that's like an area you can't touch. And so I'm very mindful of that, and the playground is very mindful of that. Like, even when we have their spirit babies, a lot of them are on the run. And I say on the run, it's in the sense of like for their lives. They're trying to support themselves in being on the go because there are malevolent beings that are desiring their frequency and their energy. And when they're entering the playground, sometimes there are beings that try to come in on their coattails. Those beings we can stop. But the ones that are part of their pathway, the ones that might be in their chakras or that are not actively there as a result of them chasing the spirit baby and that are not external to them, we cannot touch. That being said, and I'm getting a little bit into the playground, but purging is a huge part of the playground, and the purging system is so beautiful, but I'll share more about that later. So I'll wrap this up by saying no matter if there are multiple spirit babies that want to be born through different realms on the playground because they want to retain their memories or for whatever the reason may be, we always ask, we always check in with the spirit babies. Like the playground and myself, we're always checking in, we're always communicating. And it's important for those with spirit babies to always ask. Never assume. I think this is just a good rule of thumb when it comes to humans in general. But definitely when it comes to spirit babies, there's a preconception, an initial bias in place, I think, for a lot of people of like, okay, this is a baby, so you may feel like you're doing a lot of the directing in that case. You are co-creating, you are leading with co-creation, but you're not directing. So it's really, really important to always ask your spirit baby, how do you want to be born? What is important to you? And most of them are actually very direct. They'll say, but you have ones that desire and need to be asked, and that's okay. So just as a rule of thumb, it's always important to ask, not just around like the born part, but other parts as well. So next time, in part 2 of my first visit, I'll be touching on more things around spirit babies, their values, the difference between spirit babies coming to Earth versus those going to other planets and star systems, and more. As always, send through any questions that you all might have, and until next time.